Okay, it's noon. I'll call the September 4th meeting of the Port and Commerce Advisory Board to order. We'll ask Vice Chair Smith to lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, will the clerk call the roll, please?
Miller's excused. Groom.
Here.
Atwood.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Regis.
Here.
Scudder. Here. And Chair Jaffa.
Here. Okay, so we're going to, at this point, ask the clerk to issue the oath. I don't know, Norm, have you did the oath yet? So we'll ask Board Member Groom and Regis to join Jody for the clerk for the oath.
Do this once, but I'm not going to say your name. I'll say both your names. I, Jesse Groom, and Norm Regis, do solemnly affirm that I will support and defend. Will you repeat after me? Do solemnly affirm that I will support and defend.
I, Jesse Groom, do solemnly affirm
That I will support and defend
I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
Constitution of the United States,
Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution of the State of Alaska,
Constitution of the State of Alaska,
Constitution of the State of Alaska,
and the laws and ordinance of the City of Seward,
and the laws and ordinances of the City of Seward,
Alaska,
Alaska,
and that I will faithfully and honestly discharge my duties,
and will honorably and ably
I will
faithfully
faithfully
and
and
honestly
honorably
discharge my duties
discharge my duties
as the Port and Commerce Advisory Board member
as a Port and Commerce Advisory Board member
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Okay.
Norm, will you sign that and pen for me, please?
Okay. I always enjoy welcoming new members, and I also enjoy hearing the pledge that we all make to the order. Citizen comments, anyone in the public? Sign-in sheet?
There is no one on the sign-in sheet.
Okay, anybody in attendance? All right, so approval of the agenda and consent agenda. We have the minutes from a previous meeting that are included in the packet, as well as our activities for the day.
I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Yeah, we do.
First and second.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'd make a motion to approve the agenda, Chair.
Board Member Atwood.
Need a second?
Make a motion,
I'll second.
and Vice Chair Smith seconds. Is there any discussion?
I had one question on the minutes.
Yep.
In the minutes when the harbor master was speaking about the new fast response cutter, it's in here, it says Mustang, it should be, in page
5.
5.
You got 5?
Page 5, it says on update on U.S. Coast Guard cutter Mustang's home port, I think it should be the new fast response cutter instead of, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So the name, is that the change?
It's the Frederick Mann.
Pardon me?
The Frederick Mann is the name of it.
Okay, so the name change?
We can make that name change as an administration thing, so we can still approve it as a
Okay.
consent. So I will fix that.
Okay, any other issues with the agenda? Thank you. Call for the vote?
Okay, voting for the approval of the consent agenda with corrections from the Mustang to the fast response charter. Scudder?
Yes.
Groom?
yes
Atwood?
Yes?
Regis?
Yes.
Miller's excused. Smith?
Yes.
And Chair Jaffa.
Yes.
Okay. The approved agenda has been approved.
Okay. So, we have no resolutions or other business. Special orders and presentations, non-city manager's report is well detailed. I'd ask Assistant Manager to comment on that, please.
Yeah, I mean, it's all in there. Just a reminder that we are going to be just including the full city manager report from the council meetings and giving that to you guys, just because it's more comprehensive of what's going on in the city. So we're always happy to help to answer any questions on that report as we can.
Okay, are there any questions for the manager?
I have
Yep.
a question. This isn't in your wheelhouse necessarily, but I just saw this hotel project that's proposed downtown. And I was just wondering about the number of units and parking availability. Is there some proposed off-site parking plan, or are you aware?
I don't know the details on that. The planning and zoning did have their meeting last night, and that conditional use permit was reviewed. And I know that it was, they had a lengthy discussion about it, and then they postponed the finish of that agenda item for, I believe, a special meeting that will happen next week, because there is a pretty, there's a lot going on there, and so I think they're just taking their time to go over that, so.
Okay.
But I do know, I mean, if you want to watch it on YouTube, they discussed it for a couple hours last night.
2.5 hours.
Yeah, so it was a,
I can add to that. The parking issue that they have considered, they realize that they can't park 42 cars. It's a 42 unit building. They can't park 42 units easily on 3rd Avenue, 4th Avenue. So they have a remote parking concept in place. And that's really where they're at right now with the concept. So there are a lot of questions to be answered. Any other questions?
Yes,
yeah.
and the Public Works report on the Willow Creek flooding, happened to be out of town when that happened. How many days of work did that take, and any estimates on like how much resources that took the city to remove debris? And also on the Army Corps, is there any timeline when they're going to visit and come back with their plans?
if I remember correctly, we had, I think it was 3 or 4 days, equipment going down there, and there was lots of equipment. I don't know what the time and amount was at that, you know, of what was put in there, but it was pretty, like the cubic feet per second that was coming out was very, very high relative to kind of what we're used to seeing. It was one of those events that was significant, and so they had a lot of equipment going down there. But
Was
I
it
don't know.
all day long, like 24 hours a day?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had a follow-up question on that. Who owns that gravel that comes out of there?
I mean, it's the city's gravel, but then we do have agreements and contracts for other people to take it. So for instance, the railroad is one of those groups that gets some of that gravel, so there are.
So you use it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a picture of it brown, and then if you go down there and you can see it clear, it's like night and day how much dirt is being carried in there.
Yeah. And then to answer your other question, I don't know when they're going to be here next.
All right, thank you.
I have a couple in the follow-up on Board Member Smith's Lowell Canyon. The Corps just recently took a tour to Europe to investigate tunneling projects. When they get, do they provide any reports of that, what they learned to the city? How much of a partnership is there between the city and the Corps?
Well, I mean, I think it's a partnership, but it's definitely like a core project. They did also do a tour last week down into Washington, because one of the tunnels is, I think it's in Austria or Switzerland or something like that. There's one over there, but then there is one in Washington that's similar, and Doug went down last week and visited that site. And it's a dual tunnel structure where they have one that sits above one of the other, and the big one up here is 23 feet, and the one down below is 9 feet, and this is actually just a sediment wash. So they can open it up and let the sediment flush. But it's similar to ours in that the fact that they have, it's testing out the granite slabs that are planned for design in here that are going to go in the bottom. And so Doug did did take a tour. We could have him at the next meeting, come give you guys kind of more of an updated presentation and talk about kind of where the status is on that.
Cool. Yeah, that'd be very interesting. I had a couple questions. Is there anybody else? Where are we with the Public Works building? That was, I think it's 65% last time I saw that.
Yeah, it's 65%. They're just reviewing, before they move to 95%, there's a pretty significant amount of plans and details that have to be kind of sorted through, and so they're in that process right now, and then at some point in time, they'll bring the 95% before council.
This year, you think?
Yeah, I think it's pretty likely, so.
And then to segue into the public safety building at 15%, this is just a concept at 15%. Is there?
Yeah, so it's just a concept, and this is just for the fire department piece. The problem is that, well, the reason why we want to actually get all of the future like buildings that we're going to need, we want to get them to 15%, like the harbor master's office and that whole redesign, we'll bring that to 15%, because unless we have something at that level, we can't really receive any money.
Oh.
And so what happened is a few years ago, 2 years ago, a senator came and said, hey, we would like to give you, I think it was something like $10 to $15 million for a fire station. Do you have anything ready? And they said, no, we don't. And then that money got moved on to someone else that did have something ready. And so it's part of the learning process that we do need to have any type of project that we are serious about pursuing money, as far as when it comes to like a facility, we need to have that at that kind of 15% to be able to access some of those monies. And so that's why we're going to be bringing, we're talking with our engineers about a feasibility study that will move into a 15% design for like the harbor master and South Harbor Uplands. The fire department, the public safety feasibility study was actually for both the police and the fire, and looking at both of those and do they go well together, do they go well apart, what's best. And so those will be two separate ones, and so we're kind of in the mix on those, but kind of our goal now that we kind of understand how the game is played a little bit better, is to bring everything to 15% design.
Is R&M the engineer that you're using for these studies?
Yeah.
So you renewed do they work on do they have to bid their contract?
Yeah, so we put out an RFP a number of years ago, and so they were the successful bidders, so that's the people we use. But it's not that we don't use other engineers because of like familiarity with certain projects. They're just kind of like our preferred go-to for a majority of what we do. But like the harbor still uses different engineers because of familiarity with the project or the original engineers on the project. So it's not necessarily like this sole source thing that we go to. It's just kind of our primary that we use.
Well, I think they've done a good job for the city, for sure. I have one last question. The purchase agreement, power purchase agreement, you got August 31st in this on this narrative, but that's not accurate, is it?
So they are. I think there was some. I don't know what the deadlines were. I'm not super familiar with that, but I know that we are in. They put out that request for proposals, and then the respondents came back, and then they're discussing. That they're in that process of having those talks for that power purchase.
Okay. And I would like to compliment the manager and department for the well put together information thing. I think that's what we're all suffering in Seward with the loss of the paper, is really knowing what's going on, and this puts the truth to the thing. Appreciate it. Okay. Any other questions for the manager? Okay, that brings us to the Alaska Railroad report.
Oh yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So the report's here. If anybody has any questions, can certainly help with that. I did want to just follow up on the gravel discussion. The Alaska Railroad is taking some of the waterfall deposits currently to our north lots 1 through 3 for filling, which we've had permitted for some time, and we continue to do that. We actually took some some of the Queejack deposits from the Quested Woods neighborhood as well this season. So we're trying to help with the gravel situation. And then we do have, I mentioned ship schedules in here and sort of the winding down of our cruise ship season. We did have the Seven Seas Explorer drop off as a September 11 docking. So those numbers are amended a little bit. And I'd be happy to answer any questions people have.
I do have a question. So with that ship dropping off, is the number declined from 92 ships?
Yeah, it has. So the Roald Amundsen, another Hurtigruten vessel, I think is amended 3 times this season. So if my math is correct, I think we're down to 88 ships for the season. But of course, we have more docking days than that because we have operators that stay for multiple days.
And how many passengers do you think have come through? Or will come
Yeah,
through?
so, cutting it off with a chainsaw, on a good season, we get about 200,000 passengers, and I expect this to be a good season. The ships have been fairly full. I don't have a running number currently, but we'll tally that at the end of the season.
I was asked to, whether I knew any kind of prediction of what the 25-26 season would look like in comparison to this year.
So we are going to see some vessel repositionings, and the numbers, this 25 schedule is out, and you can look at it. The numbers are down slightly, but then it also depends on the size of the ships that will come, so our passenger numbers could decline. And there's a lot of discussion about the 26 season, and so, and of course our preparations for the 26 season with our dock project. But we're expecting that to be a good comparable season, if not better.
Do you have any idea, maybe Samantha will know what's driving the influx of people? It's amazing. I thought they would be an end to it, but it just goes on and on and on. It's wonderful.
Indeed.
Okay, railroads carrying, one last question, railroads carrying an equal number of freight over the years, this year compared to last year?
Yeah, so our freight numbers are good, and I think I mentioned in there some of the freight activity that we've had, and we have multiple vessels scheduled for this autumn. Starting, we have a little bit of a lull through the month of September, but we have frac sand coming in October, and we have multiple pipe ships going into the autumn and early winter. Anyway, so it's looking good.
Do you have any idea if that pipe has anything to do with the Willow project?
I believe so, but I don't know how many projects are involved.
Sure. Okay. Any other? Board Member
Just a
Curl?
quick comment, most of the pipe and the fracking sand is for the Willow projects. Most of it, not all of it.
Okay, good. That's good to know.
We're seeing for the cruise ship schedule in 2026 a really sharp downturn
26?
in 26. I think we're going to see Royal Caribbean and Viking, and right now that's all that we're seeing on the books.
Okay.
So we're going to see a large number of ships drop off after 2025.
Can I ask, is that subject to change at this point?
I mean, anything can change, right? But with Norwegian putting the new dock in Whittier, they're going to take, Norwegian's going to go over there, that's the Monday ship, and they're going to take their smaller vessels, which are the Wednesday and Thursday ships, along with them.
And you said 2025 or 2026 or both?
Norwegian and their smaller partnerships are leaving in 2025, and then by 2026, yeah, it's one ship on a Friday, and the Vikings in about every 20 days.
Are they going to Whittier? Are they going to Whittier? Is that where they're going?
That's happened before. Okay, are there any other questions for the railroad report? Okay. So, back here to the chamber report.
Hi, everyone. Is this the first meeting since the summer?
It is.
hiatus?
Thank you for joining us.
Welcome back. It's nice to see a couple new faces up here. My name is Samantha. I'm the Executive Director of the Chamber. Great to meet you. Included in your packets is my report from council on the 26th. And I'm happy to go into that if there's questions, but there's some other topics I'd like to point out before I review anything in that report that you're interested in. Tomorrow evening, we're having our first Chamber After 5 event of the year. We're going to do a season recap, talk about how it went for all of our partners for the business community in Seward. Just a chance to sit down at Resurrection Roadhouse and brainstorm for the future, recap on their season, talk about any kind of trends they're seeing, strategies for next year, etc. So that's going on. We're resuming our winter schedule of events, and those include Chamber After 5s and Chamber Luncheons at the Breeze Inn, where we provide a speaker and a nice lunch or an educational event or a chance for a member to display their business, talk about their initiatives and projects. So that's coming back up around. And on Saturday, we have a volunteer cruise with KFT. If you volunteered for the Chamber this year, or if not, let me know. And you want to come out with us, it looks like it's going to maybe be a sunny day, so that's on Saturday. Our newest partner, Superlux Bakery, will be providing some delicious treats for our volunteers. So a great way to say thank you to our community for helping us put on projects like the 4th of July, the Salmon Derby, over 400 volunteers for just those two events combined. So it's incredible to see the community really come together to support our initiatives, and it's a nice way that we can give back to them too. So thanks for KFT for doing that. On September 12th, KBBI, in partnership with the Clarion and the Seward Chamber and KBLL, will be putting on a Seward City Council Candidate Forum, formerly called Meet the Candidates, if that title is more familiar. The Chamber is collecting community questions for our potential candidates. It will be at the library on September 12th, and the candidates will sit down, get to answer those questions. It will be broadcasted on KBBI, available online. So I do have a flyer that I just hung up on the clerk's board back out there in the hallway, but if there are concerns, questions, issues that you want answered by the candidates, it's a great way to bridge some local concerns and get it in front of our potential future candidates. So excited to get to work on that project. The Chamber is also doing a reprint of not only our annual visitor guide, which we do every year, but this is the year that we're doing the reprint of the Seward Hometown Guide, and this resource was put out in 2022 as both a hometown and a relocation guide to help facilitate that move and help showcase Seward as not just a destination but a place to live, work, and play. So I have a few of these. If anybody is chomping at the bit, the city should definitely take a look at this. I'm starting to put out feelers to make updates. Would love to hear any kind of feedback from PACAB or the community on things that are missing out of here that you think, potential or new families or people maybe moving to Seward should know about. So this is an incredible publication, and I'm excited to get to work on it, and hopefully we can make it really showcase how awesome our community is. So those are my big projects right now at the Chamber. That's what we're sort of focusing on. Attached is my report. Does anybody have anything specific they want to talk about within that report? I have some numbers from the Salmon Derby, and then just a calendar of our events. Any questions within there?
I don't have any questions on I had two questions. One kind of off anything you said is the EV electric car charging station. How active is that at the Chamber?
It paid for itself this year, which we're super happy about. That was like the goal with the grant, to get it to fund itself. So this season it did well. We're very happy with the usage on it. It always kind of tapers off in the winter time.
So it's finding use.
Yeah,
People, good,
absolutely,
good.
Did anybody see that? What's that crazy boxy vehicle? It's like is it a Tesla? Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
Cybertruck.
Truck one.
The Cybertruck?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was parked there a few times this season, so.
And the other thing is, I was curious, well, I have two questions. First is, how, I know there's a state chamber, and I think you function with the state chamber as well. What about the local East Peninsula chambers? There's one in Cooper Landing, one in Moose Pass.
Yeah, so there are some in the unincorporated areas in on the peninsula, but there's a Homer Chamber of Commerce, there's a Soldotna Chamber, there's a Kenai Chamber, Seward. Cooper Landing does have one, and Hope has one. Let's see, Ninilchik, McKiskey. No. Who am I missing? Anybody?
Moose Pass definitely has one.
Moose Pass has one, yes.
And do you guys get together?
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
okay, that's what I'm after.
Yeah, throughout the spring and a little bit in the summertime, we had meetings with Mayor Machicki and Joe Rizzo, and we were talking about how the borough can support the tourism industry. And those conversations should pick back up, and hopefully we'll see some momentum out of those, but those really bridged a line of communication between our chambers, and we're finding those have been super helpful to meet each other, communicate, talk about projects. Right now we're working with Homer. So one of the other big projects that the chamber is working on right now is the TVEX Summit, and this Travel Bloggers Exchange Summit is an educational conference for bloggers, Instagrammers, travel content creators to learn how to monetize their brand, how to use search engine optimization, how to work with industry professionals and DMOs. So this summit travels around the world. They have a different location every year, and this year they are in Anchorage. Yeah. So Visit Seward is attending as a gold sponsor, where we'll get to meet these people and build those relationships, and also learn, because the chamber is a travel content creator. It's a destination marketer. So it'll be a chance for some of us to sit down in those educational settings. So it's a professional development for us, but also to market Seward, as outlined in our contract with the city to be the DMO for the city of Seward. But one big thing about that summit is that we are doing a pre-VEX fam trip for 6 content creators of our choosing to come down to Seward, and we're putting on the Ritz. They're going to get to experience Seward. We're really lucky for a lot of local partners who are helping us make this happen. They'll be staying at the Harbor 360. They're going to get to go out with KFT. They're going to do a river rafting with Kenai Backcountry Adventures and a few other really fun things. A sauna with Seward Saunas. So really lucky to have that partnership. And sorry if I tangented on that.
No, that's perfect.
That's another big project.
No, and actually, it kind of lays the groundwork for my last question, and that's, in your last paragraph, I'm not exactly sure I'm reading anything into this, but you're talking about entering into, you're asking for a work session with the city.
Yeah.
I think some of us know the history of the relation between the chamber and the city and the funding that went on and what your current relationship is. And I believe it to be strong. Is there anything here that should suggest that there's something that needs to be hammered out, a problem?
Thank you for segueing into that, Chair Joppa. It was a topic that I wanted to conclude with. The Seward Chamber and the City of Seward have been in this partnership for a few decades now, where the Seward Chamber of Commerce is contracted to be the destination marketing organization for the City of Seward. There's a little bit of a misnomer there, and maybe some misunderstanding is, we are a Chamber of Commerce, but we are funded by the city, we're contracted by the city to serve as the destination marketing organization. So there's distinct functions. So within that contract, historically, we have received 2% of the 4% Fed tax. In 2021 or 22, forgive me for not having that number right, it was capped at $300,000, so it's not reflective of the 2%. And that $300,000 is about $120,000 roughly lower than what 2% of the Fed tax was for the previous fiscal year. So what we're hoping to see is a return to that prior funding source, and we're asking City Council to set a work session with the Chamber to have that conversation. And Chair Jopp, I remember early on in my reporting with you here at PACAB, one thing that you said is that this is a strategic moment for the Chamber to get to be in front of PACAB and talk and advocate. So I ask
Also, PACAB, in addition to council, to request administration to set a work session for us to have that budget discussion in the city's budgeting cycle coming up.
I think that's fair. I remember that background. On this topic, does anyone have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I just want to make a comment and full disclosure as the current president of the Chamber of Commerce. This partnership that we've had with the city, there's been a lot of misunderstanding about how this Chamber of Commerce functions and what the money is used for. So the bed tax money was, when the bed tax was created, it was initially created to enhance marketing in Seward, which it obviously has done. I mean, you look at the numbers of the people coming in, you just mentioned earlier, they just keep coming. And that has a lot to do with the marketing efforts of the chamber. And so that money doesn't just benefit the chamber members, because as a Chamber of Commerce, we are a membership organization, which means we have members that pay to be a part of the chamber to receive specific benefits as chamber members. But the marketing dollars that the chamber receives from the city market Seward as a whole. They don't just specifically market chamber members. And so that's a point that I would like to just bring out to everybody to consider as we go through these budget discussions with the city administration and city council, and look for that support to continue to support that important goal of marketing Seward, not just as a tourist destination, but as a place to come, work, live, and play. Our hometown town guide is funded by some of that money. So the work session, I think, is to kind of maybe get rid of some of those misunderstandings about how the chamber functions and how the chamber uses the resources that they have.
And I'd also like to just be able to have that open conversation with council to look at the marketing contract, and if there are different areas to spend our focus, or if we're meeting those destination marketing goals, if we need to focus more in a different area, we can put that into the contract. But the marketing contract has been outlined, and we've met those goals as an organization year over year, and it's evident in the increase in the bed tax. It's evident in the visitor industry here in Seward. So to be cut off for meeting and exceeding your goals, it feels strange. So to have that conversation and to understand what council wishes and what administration wishes, and how we can meet that way, I think we just need a little more understanding. So if you'd be willing to help advocate for us, that would be incredible.
Is your contract a multi-year contract, or is it a single year?
2-year contract, yeah.
It's a what?
2-year contract.
2-year. Well, I've watched your presentation to council. I think council receives your report and understands that, I think most of the council understands the effort that you have put in and the result. But I know with all the graphs and the charts, and you brought a new dimension, and in history, I think we all know that our assistant manager and our manager both have a history with the chamber, and they understand the function of the Seward Chamber, and it doesn't seem like a hard sell in most cases if you can show the result. Here's the input, here's the result. You put 2 cents of a bed, and if I remember the reason this changed, it was during a secession of city managers, and it was also a slight downturn in the economy, where the 2% of the bed tax, or the half of the bed tax was not stable. So setting an actual dollar number created some stability, even though it was a slightly lower number. I believe it was to create stability. It wasn't, I think, to cut funds out of chamber, although there was some discussion that the chamber was getting a lot of money. But again, if you can show that expenditure is, the numbers that you've got of the number of people that fish and the people that come in, but it's really a number of people that wouldn't have without your effort. That's the ones, the people that know that there's red salmon in Resurrection Bay are coming down from Anchorage anyway. But the ones that don't know enough, you're putting the hook out.
Yeah, and we're able to provide those metrics through our Datify platform and hard numbers like the bed tax and sewer and city tax. Those numbers are indicative of growth, and we've been on a growth trend for decades. So it's in writing, it's clear that the funds put into our efforts are resulting in income for our community.
In charts or in narrative?
And the charts are a narrative, yeah, it's another piece to the story.
For me, frankly, narratives work a lot better than charts. I don't know, maybe that's the modern thing, is the charts and the graphs and all that. I look at them, but the narrative tells me a story. Do you have a budget number in mind of where you think the chamber needs to be compared to where they're at now?
With rising costs and inflation and the cost of living in Seward, I think a return to the 2% bed tax would be fair. But if there was some adjustment for inflation in our current cap, that would work too. There is strategy in having that defined number, but we also need something to work towards and we have to have incentive to continue to grow. So I would like to see a return to the 2%.
What would be the relative numbers between your current budget and what?
We're currently capped at $300,000 is what our funding source, and I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but it was about 100 bed tax last year. Do you have that number? Does anybody have that number? 840,000 roughly that the city brought in 20.
So roughly 100,000 plus increase.
Yeah, I'm sorry, in 23, that's what they brought in, so 2%, so half of that, essentially, 420. Our staff is at full capacity is between 7 and 10 employees to run our operation in the summertime. In the wintertime, we drop down to, right now we're at 3, and we're lucky to have a really awesome volunteer, Carol Hatch, thank you. But to be, a fully functioning operating chamber, 4 to 5 is really what we're seeing on the peninsula, and our current operating budget won't support that.
How are other chambers around the state funded? And you mentioned Homer somewhat comparable.
Homer is somewhat comparable, except they rely more on membership dues than their budget is membership dues heavy. I'm not exactly clear on their partnership with their city. They do receive a slight funding from their city. They employ 5. And then the city of Soldotna and Kenai are also membership-based organizations. But those are more Chamber of Commerce's and not necessarily destination marketing organizations.
You're doing things that they're not,
We're contracted by the city of Seward.
Right.
To execute a contract.
Which has been beneficial, I think. As you mentioned, not just for the members, so let's mention everybody gains.
And, the chamber is unique in that we're a year-round organization that supports 3 to 5 year-round employees. So we're also an employer, and that's a big deal for our community.
One other question for me is, when would you anticipate, is the word fortuitous time for this meeting, this work session?
As soon as possible. Budget cycles start in October. Is that when the budget meetings start? So sometime in September. I will be away for a week or two in late September and mid-October for the summit and a conference in Juneau, but otherwise we're.
Well, as I understand it, I don't think we can take up a motion today on this, but we certainly could include with our minutes and promote this to council. I certainly will make the effort. Any other questions for Samantha? Wow, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome back.
Okay. So we have no presentations today, no unfinished business, new business, no resolutions. Other discussing municipal League Conference attendance. Is that in our package? Every year we have, we send a delegate to the AML. And I don't know that this discussion entails selecting that person yet.
It just sounds like we need to know, we're deciding if we want to go or not.
Well, everyone who's gone to the AML has come back with great reports about what they've gained from it. I've stuck my head in the sand all these years and not done it. But I would hope that someone else on the board would be interested, because I think there's a big benefit in understanding how the larger organizations work around the state. So is there anyone, well, first of all, do we want to send a representative to AML?
Can I just have somebody explain
Sure.
to me what it is?
It's an open discussion.
What
What is AML?
What is AML and what is the, I mean,
I'm going to ask either the manager or the former, or our new
I
board member.
can speak to that. So,
Jason?
AML is the Alaska Municipal League, and so it's basically a gathering of municipalities, of different employees from those municipalities getting together in Anchorage, and so they kind of have just like a, you go to a conference and they kind of have a general, you get lots of different sessions of general information, but then there's also a lot of really good like breakout sessions that are addressing issues in different communities. Commissioner Smith went last year, and they look at like how are communities dealing with housing, and there's a lot of discussion and or energy costs or that kind of stuff. And so I would say most of it, the breakout sessions are all just about issues that communities are dealing with and what people are doing, and they have experts that come in and talk about and give you information on those that you might not have otherwise. So yeah, I would say it's I think, depending on what sessions you go to, it's about as beneficial as that. Sometimes you're like, I didn't really learn anything, but then other ones you go to and you learn a lot. So it's kind of what it is.
and what does sending somebody entail? Is it something that, does PACAB have a budget? Do we have a budget?
No, but the city will pay for
The city pays for
housing and expenses and travel.
Yeah, stay in a hotel and attend the sessions, so.
Oh, I see, okay.
And Kat and I kind of divide and conquer last year, and I was in some of the ones with Ben, and
It's the later 2 days of the week, I think, are the ones that are most relevant for
yeah.
PACAB. I would say that we do want to have someone go. And if I would prefer someone else went, but as a default, I will go, just as long as we can gain something and bring it back to this group. So is that what we need, is to first reserve a place and then later identify a person?
I believe so. We just want to see if, Norm,
You can send two, correct? From PACAB?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. I would
I
have to
believe
find that out.
they've sent two before.
I know
It's done
Linda's
that in the
gone
past.
and a lot of other people over the years.
I mean, I would be interested, I can't commit at this time, but I would be interested in
Time
considering it.
commitment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
considering it, so.
I know you have to register too, so that's probably one reason why we need to know if we're sending someone. So at some point, we will need to know who's going so we can register that person as well.
Let's bring this back to our next meeting. I think this is something we do want to encourage. I don't think we need a motion or anything. We just- Okay, oop,
And one thing,
yeah.
when do you have to find out by to register? Are we gonna make the next meeting for you to get the registration in time?
I would have to find out. I'll send everybody an email.
Yeah, I believe we still have time by the next meeting.
Yeah,
This is in December.
it's like the first week in December, I believe.
It says must be booked by Saturday, November 2nd. That's when the hotel like special window closes, so I think as
So
long
we
as we
have
take care
time
of
to
business
pick the
in
person.
October, we're good, we'll be good.
Or the people.
Okay. So we'll bring it back to our next meeting. And where's the list? Okay, discuss community communications. I'm not exactly sure what this topic is. I know in the past, we talked a little bit about the loss of the newspaper and the use of YouTube and Sacktown and the city's newsletter and website and all those things. Is that what we're talking about, do you think, in this communications?
Honestly, Chair Jaffa, I'm not sure what this is regarding to.
I couldn't tell you.
So we can bring this back at the next meeting and I can find out more information on it, but I'm not sure what this is regarding to.
Well, I think, I said before at this table, at this forum, that it's critically important that the citizens know what is going on in their government. And there was the what do they call it, the Fifth Estate, the newspapers, or is that something estate? But that's gone. And the media sources are not exactly the same. And we have a excellent manager team that wants and is doing the job. I just would like to see that personally codified somehow or another, so that nothing, Jason, you can do this job for 25 years, I'm happy with that point, but you might not. And I want the next administration to have the same direction to provide, information to the public.
And I did just want to note that on our front with that lack of newspaper and those types of things, that Kat, with Ashley's help, that we are putting out, basically we take the city manager's report and we turn a lot of that information in there and we turn it into a newsletter. And so that we are sending out a public newsletter that goes out we put it on social media and we put it out like via email and that type of thing too. So we are trying to do a better job just on our front in that void of letting the community know what's going on within the city. So.
I agree. Board Member.
Yeah, I had a question. The print media was a source of, legal advertising for the municipality for a long time, and I'm just wondering, like those legal postings, how are those managed now? And I think it's a good idea to, have a newsletter. That's great. And then I would guess, perhaps an even better resource would be the city's own webpage for public information. But anyway, I was just curious about that.
Yeah, the code is, I would say, leaves enough room for us. If there's no newspaper, you can't advertise in a newspaper, right? Like you have to publicly advertise to like your greatest ability. But I also know too that I think on certain, and there's different levels of advertising you have to do for certain different things. But I do know that I believe that we do stuff with the Clarion because that's technically like our closest local newspaper at this point. But yeah, we are absolutely like abiding by code and what we have to do with our kind of limited resources, so.
Maybe that cork board out here would be public notice, right?
What's that?
The cork board in the hallway?
Yeah, we have to advertise everything in like public buildings. We do it like Harbor Master, library here, and the post office, so we make sure that we're getting it around here locally as much as we possible, but we do have a
We do have on the website too, a subscribe link, so people need to go into that and subscribe to certain departments, or you can subscribe to all of them. And when we send out notices, it goes to their email, so they're getting an email of it as well.
If I recall, there might have been a desire to talk about the broadcast television too. That might be why that's on here, but on that note, like with
Well, at my age, I certainly miss the newspapers. I grew up with them over coffee and donuts and looking at but I think Board Member Atwood has an interesting question, and I don't know that it's fully resolved, because public notice isn't the same as advertising. Public notice for activities or board openings, and some of these things may be in state law. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's only municipal law or whatever, but we're entering a brave new world, and I think all those things are going to probably have to be, looked at, and the people who don't seek out information aren't going to find it anyway. It can be blasted over the front page and people won't see it of a newspaper, but I know I struggle to find the information from various government organizations. I was a poll worker recently, and I sent an email yesterday about how do I find the actual results for the mail-in ballots of Moose Pass. And it used to be printed in the paper. Somebody would discern that information or find that information, put it out there. But you have to do your own searches now. And I think it's going to be, and again, Jason, I think you and Kat deserve a lot of credit. But I think you're extraordinary, and I just worry about those people who aren't extraordinary, who would be willing to hide or not promote information. We need to make sure that we have in place the rules and guidelines to make sure that information is available. I'm not sure whether this is the same thing, but discuss community communications. I would two things. One is the Heat Loop group. We'll have a meeting on September 12th, which is we are rounding third base on phase 1. We are up for a jury selection to move us into phase 2, which is actually construction money. We will have a representative. I mischaracterized Dr. Amanda Coker's position. She's actually a program manager for a National Research Environmental Lab, not DOE. But she will be here because the project, this Heat Loop project, is starting to gain national recognition. It's a really fascinating project that we hope we can move it forward. Again, getting information out, you can see the email string I put out there. It's not quite the same as publishing it in a local newspaper. Okay. Any other questions or contributions or suggestions on community communication? I think we should bring it up again.
I'll get some more information
Yeah.
on it.
Okay. Informational items and reports. Work sessions on Wednesday, September 18th, the legislative priorities. Norm knows what this is. Jesse, every year for you, I have a habit when I talk to my crews of finding the apprentice or the youngest guy. And if I can explain it to him, then everybody gets brought along. But our legislative priorities have to do with what we encourage the city to carry along to Juneau for the next legislative session. whether there's a definite need, and the administration will bring us, projects that are in the works and suggestions, but if there's individual ideas, that's a good place to start bringing them up. And that will be on September 18th. Today is the 4th, so that's 2 weeks from now.
If I'm out of town, could I call you with some ideas?
I'm not sure how that works.
I'm sorry.
Can you join the meeting by telephone?
No.
No, well, I won't
You couldn't
be-
vote.
I understand that, but I'll be out of cell service range altogether.
Oh,
So if I'm out of town or can't be available, would I be able to give you the ideas that I wanted
Sure.
presented after?
absolutely. You should see the packet somehow or another, and then you can send contributions or any of your ideas to the clerk, and ask the clerk then to present it to the board. Okay. Then our next regular meeting is Wednesday, October 2nd. Seems awfully early in the month. I guess that's,
So for that meeting, maybe we can, like you were talking about getting a resolution up to support the chamber. So that'd be the meeting, bring a
yes,
resolution.
that would be the regular meeting,
Correct.
yes.
So that's the meeting you want to bring a resolution?
Yeah, and we can work together and draft a resolution. I think that's the way the process works, although
Yep.
I've seen it done a lot of ways. Former manager Sewell seemed to grab all of it, write them. But we'll get something so we can vote on it. I don't particularly care for that. All right, so then we have our regular that, and there's a calendar in here, if you'll see the back of your package, that lays out the meetings through the end of the year, I believe. November, September, November, just November, just through November. Okay. And lastly, we go to citizen comments. We've lost our audience. And we'll come to the board and administration comments. I ask the administration.
No comments?
Okay.
Good to see you all. Good to see everybody.
And we'll start with board member Groom.
Sorry.
Your comments, anything you would like to share with us?
I just want to say I appreciate everybody kind of showing me the way on my first meeting here, and I'll pick it up as I go, get a little bit more active.
And new board member Regis?
Yeah, so I'm enjoying being on board. I really want to keep supporting the harbor in the city. I kind of missed it a few times, which I told the harbor master, so yeah, some things I miss. I definitely don't miss going to work every day, but I do miss some of the things that happen in the city, and I'd like to stay involved as much as I can, and this was a way of kind of doing it. So I'm going to jump in because I went to a lot of the core meetings, and you had questions about the core. So I thought I seen a couple of them down here during the event, the rain event, and they were down there looking to see, because part of the big deal was the contractor's going to do the tunnel. They have to take care of any rain events. So if it happened in the summer like it just did, they have to take care of it. So I think that's why they came down to show whoever the contractor when they go out to bid. So I think that's huge there. And then I want to thank the chamber for their report, and like you said, the council has slowly been reducing the funds going to them. But I think they do a great job. I've been to plenty of shows with the chamber and things like that, and much information they put out. I think it's great for the city. So, and thanks again.
Thank you. Board member Sutter.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be back. I don't know too much about the tunnel project and the Corps of Engineers, but I can say that they were in town, and they did visit our house because we live out on Stony Creek, or whatever the name of that creek is. The Corps of Engineers thought it was Salmon Creek, actually. So I thought there was actually salmon in the river. So we lost a lot of our embankment during those high waters. We had just put a bunch of time and effort into building up a nice embankment that got all just completely washed out. And so Corps of Engineers was talking to my husband. I wasn't there, but they were in town. So that was interesting to hear about. And I would like to encourage this organization to support the chamber and their efforts in soliciting that funding from the city and continuing that partnership with the city so that they can keep doing the good job that they're doing. And yeah, that's all I have. Just good to be back.
Thank you. Board Member Atwood.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, I guess, following up the support of the chamber, certainly, I know that your question previously about showing a correlation between marketing dollars spent and visitation, I don't know, perhaps there's surveys, but anyway, I think it's money well spent, but of course, you need to vet that and check it from time to time and make sure the dollars are being spent wisely. That's really all I have to say about that. And then there was a mention of the 2026 cruise ship season, and I don't have ship numbers yet, and I'll look into that. The only preliminary conversations I've had about the 26 season is how to manage a 4-ship day, which we haven't had before. So, but stay tuned. And then in the spirit of communication, the railroad has updated project fact sheets on our plans to double the size of the freight dock and create a new industrial corridor for industrial traffic, and then also the replacement of the cruise dock. And I'll share these with the clerk, and they can be distributed to this group. I believe they've been already provided to Mayor and Council. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Vice Chair.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I'd like to echo the sentiments about the chamber. This board receives regular reports, have always been very informative. To cap that at a set amount over the last few years where we know what costs of doing business are doing doesn't make any sense. We need to support our chamber and have them continue to grow with the city of Seward. Also, in the administration report there was a section on the work that the electric department's doing. I want to praise them for their good work. It's the improvements in the electrical system here are truly remarkable from where we were a decade ago, and that enables everybody to function well and efficiently. Despite the rising costs, they're rising everywhere. I think they're doing an excellent job. And welcome Norm and Mr. Groom to the board, and good to be back. Thank you.
Okay, well, very good. I would start by saying this maritime simulator is not a laydown, it's an information item that was provided to us as just to be aware that AvTech is continuing to provide services and training programs that are critically important, certainly to a coastal town, but to the entire state of Alaska. So we should never forget that AvTech is a tremendous contributor. Those people who were instrumental in bringing AvTech here are mostly gone, but they deserve a lot of credit. And we'll talk about that some more. I'm glad that we're going to have an opportunity to talk about the chamber. I think the chamber is a critically important part of the community. We need to fully understand the synergy between the city government and an organization like the chamber. It's unique, as Samantha, the director, Alan stated. It's unique, but it's frankly, I think there's a lot of things in Seward that are unique. With that, I mentioned that I just met, I had a brief conversation with the new operations manager for the electric utility, Taylor Crocker, and I've been told by the city that he's doing a job and providing both information and an efficiency that I think is really important. I know we'll dig into more harbor issues over time. We don't ever want to forget that this is a coastal town that started by being a coastal, a freight town and a transportation town and all those things. And we need to, I don't want to get too far afield, but we just recently got hit by a grant, by a funding problem at Moose Pass. The way to solve it is quick, decisive action. So if there's a threat to our harbor, we all need to band together and find a solution. On that, I don't mean to leave that query. When I said that about libraries, our governor administrates a budget that's passed by the legislature. The legislature fully funded a library program in the state of Alaska. The Seward Library is also affected by this, but the library director arbitrarily reduced the funding to libraries around the state to redistribute that money elsewhere. It is not a governor's action. It was not a legislative action, and as a result of that, a quick response may turn this action around. But it's the kind of thing that a group like this, or anybody that has information that you can bring to a group and discuss, you can find a solution. In Moose Pass, for instance, our grant was $7,000 a year. This is not a publicly funded library. Our budget is more than double that. But that $7,000 was reduced to $1,800. It's devastating. So these are the types of things that I think a group like this, an advisory board, has a real opportunity to help because you're ear to the sidewalk or wherever. Okay, that's enough of that. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate the newbies. You won't be newbies at the next meeting, but thank you all again. And if nothing else, we'll motion to adjourn. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
The meeting.
Second? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor? All right, we're adjourned. I didn't need to call for a vote, I don't think, did I?
No.